Apple did it. They finally moved on from Intel. What's going on, YouTube? Welcome to the Granite Geek Show on the Lotta Quente Ledger Network. I'm your host, Chris Grant Jr., and today we are talking the brand new Apple event in which they revealed the M1 chip and three new Mac models. So we're going to talk about what makes the M1 chip so different and the three models of Mac that they released. But before we get started, be sure to hit the subscribe button and click the bell so that you don't miss an episode as we cover your favorite tech and video games. It's the Granite Geek Show. Okay, so let's kick things off with the M1 chip, which really framed everything Apple announced today. We're getting one chip. No i3, i5, i7, i9, one M1 chip. Just like with the iPhone devices, you were getting one A-series chip with the X variant of that A chip being reserved for the iPad Pro. Something where you really need to crank up the performance as much as you can. But I still think there's room for an X variant of the M1 chip. We'll call it M1X for the 16-inch MacBook Pro and even the iMac, as both of those devices were not updated today. So long story short, Apple has always made their own hardware, and it's been really great, but they never made the chips inside the devices until the iPhone started using the Apple A series of chips. And what we saw from that was that performance just went to the moon. iPhones were beating out every other smartphone. I'm sure you've seen the phone buff style speed test, everything Apple Pro, all these different YouTubers do tests, and they show that the Apple iPhone was just killing everything. I don't know why it took them so long, but they said, let's finally use that same MO and bring it to the Macs, using the hardware and the software and working together inside Apple, inside that one ecosystem to create truly the best product that Apple can make. Apple is claiming up to 3.9 times faster video processing and 7.1 times faster image processing. So these chips are definitely powerhouses, but they also take advantage of some tips and tricks that Apple picked up while making the iPhone. The neural engine, the T-series security chips that all work to take the load off of the main processor, allowing it to really optimize its performance in everyday tasks and high performance tasks. And based on their numbers, it's going to outperform each of their respective previous models by more than 2 times in almost every category. So we have a new MacBook Air, we have the 13-inch MacBook Pro, which I'm kind of disappointed it wasn't made a 14-inch because, they went from 15 to 16, and yeah, I don't know why they didn't do that. And then we also got the Mac Mini. Optimizations also allowed the MacBook Pro to get a 20-hour battery life rating, which is the most that's ever been in a Mac, period. And even with all this performance, they're still keeping the prices exactly the same. Even with the Mac Mini, they actually dropped it $100. And this is obviously due to the fact that they're developing these chips in-house, so they save a lot of money because they don't have to outsource for Intel. Another thing to note with the Mac Mini, it was largely criticized for its lack in graphics performance, but now with the M1 chip, it's going to have a 6 times greater graphics performance rating than the previous version. Now, they took some ports off of this device, with it only having 2 USB-C ports, which work for Thunderbolt and USB 4, 1 HDMI, but the good thing is the Mac Mini now supports the Super 6K resolution display, Apple Display. So overall, these devices put out some great numbers that I think are really going to impact creators, professionals, students, workers of all kinds who use the MacBook Pro, but I truly believe that the best is yet to come. Apple is not new to the chip making business, but they are new to the chip making business for laptops and desktops, and I think Apple will learn so much more when creating these chips with the desktop in mind, for instance, where you've got just a ton more power, a ton more size and fans and all these different things. So we're really going to see Apple possibly crank up that performance in these M1 chips to something that we truly haven't seen in the consumer market. But yeah, guys, that was everything that they announced. That wraps up the Apple One More Thing event for this year. That's the last of the events for this year. But I do think we'll get something very early next year with a 16-inch MacBook Pro and possibly an iMac. So let me know your predictions and your thoughts of everything that Apple announced today. Also, be sure to like the video as always if you're liking the content, and subscribe and click the bell so that you don't miss an episode as we cover your favorite tech and video games. Thanks so much for watching. It's the Granite Geek Show.